Hello to all my friends out there, and this is Practical Prepper, and this video is why prepare for disaster. Why think about it? It's depressing. I don't want to think about it. I'll deal with that when the time comes. That might not be such a good strategy, you guys. It really might not. Okay, what have I here? This is some tea, but in my tea is dehydrated lemons that I dehydrated last night. So let's see what happened here. I better do this over the sink. I'll be right back. The idea of dehydrating the lemons is so you don't run out of citrus. Okay, so yesterday I did a video on 7 things that I have been working on 5 years on my videos. Stockpile food and water, clean, dry, warm place to live, consider self-employment, side job, be watchful for alien invasion, be watchful of civil war conditions, be watchful for Agenda 21, prepare for disaster. This is the one I want to talk about. Prepare for disaster. Okay, where these disasters come from? Well, they came from the Bible. It is recorded history of what might happen. Disasters, war, flood, pestilence, disease, famine. And now here in Southern California, well, there was fire listed in the Bible too. Fire. Okay, so last night I dehydrated these apricots, and they're easy to store. Right now I'm just storing mine in the freezer. They turned out really good, you guys. I could cook these down in some water, add some sugar, and I would have a nice little batch of jam. Or I could make myself a pie. Or I could cut these up and put these in some bread. Some of Mandy's bread. So let's see. I will have a taste. Where's my thing? Oh, here it is. Oh, I already put the sugar in. All right, let's have a taste of this dehydrated lemon tea. That's the way to go. Okay, so now we're talking about prepare for disaster, war. I'm just going to talk about the wars I can remember pretty well. Okay, the Vietnam War was one of the first wars I remember where the wars were waged in, they were villages. And the Viet Cong War, in some cases, was the Vietnamese that we were supposed to be defending. The Americans tried to draw the battle out of the cities, and they hid around in the jungles and tunnels. That's how my husband got the Agent Orange. Anything they could do. They did not want to engage in war. They just wanted to attack us and kill us because there was a supposed invasion from North Vietnam, and they were trying to take over South Vietnam, and it was a vicious war. One of the worst in history, but a lot of people tried to act like it didn't exist, but it did. Another mention about Vietnam, which is interesting, is the use of psychics was employed in the Vietnam War, which aided us greatly. You know, so that you know, our troops weren't killed. Okay, so that is one of the first times I remember the wars were waged in the cities. So you don't think about it, but those little towns with barely any electoral votes protect our country, because we know we could run to one of those small towns if things got bad. You know, if there was famines, if there was, you know, some kind of civil war. Well, if those are all wiped out and rendered impossible to live in or unfriendly for us to live in, then that makes our country not as safe. Why? Well, because if everyone is in a big city, the first thing they're going to do is take our weapons. Then we're not going to have any way to defend ourselves. And we're going to be vulnerable for attack. In the Iraq wars, they fought the wars amongst the population as well. So that is why the big city thing is really not desirable. Also, growing of food. You know, these floods has diminished our farmers' ability to earn a living because they're flooded, and the land is seriously in danger of being lost. Okay, so we have wars. Okay, now let's go to floods. Okay, floods are really, really bad. The only thing you can do to really prepare for floods is make sure wherever you live can withstand 11 feet of water. I live in a high area, but there's still runoffs. So, you know, no place is entirely safe, but if you can live in a rather high area, then that is safer for floods. Also, if your dams look seriously danger for bursting, you're going to want to evacuate before. You're going to want to be well aware of the dams, the locations of the dams, how full are the dams, are the dams dangerously full, and the waterways. Where is this water going to run from and to? You want to be well aware of that. I watch Mike Morales. I find it very helpful. Also, you know, in these areas where there's been floods, you want to say to yourself, do I think more floods are coming? And take provisions to evacuate if possible, if you do. Okay, pestilence. Okay, you know, they call San Diego America's cleanest city. It probably is one of the cleanest big cities. Where would these pestilence come from? Well, how about garbage? Have you ever been to New York? They have serious amounts of garbage. Here we have dipsty dumpsters. But anyway, the garbage thing is no joke, because it can generate all kinds of hideous flies, roaches, rats. So, you know, if things start going out of control, and you're living in one of these big cities, you're more vulnerable to pestilence and disease. Stuff starts spreading around and you're one of these big cities. That is dangerous too. In a lot of cities, back in the day, my grandmother burned her garbage. Try doing that here in the city. You can't even barbecue on a little hibachi. So, you know, these little farm towns in America make it possible to keep our weapons, make it possible for us to run out of the cities if needs be. And if all those are closed down and we're forced into cities, we're more vulnerable for everything. Okay, famine. Okay, one of, all through history there's been famines. So what you want to do is you want to stockpile some food in case things start, it hasn't been so long ago when in our own country there was famine. Here is an account. Here is an account of my family that ran out of Missouri before they were murdered. Okay. Mother was nursing the baby and could not help much, especially when the food ran short and she grew weak. When the rations were reduced, Father gave Mother a part of his share of the food, so he was not so strong either. Now, this is important to remember. Even when we were short on rations, if we met a band of Indians, the captain of our company would give them some of the provisions so the Indians would let us go by in safety. Food finally became so low that word was sent to Salt Lake City, and in about 2 weeks, fresh supplies arrived. That was, say, 200 years ago. We had the Depression with the soup kitchens. All over the world, there's been various famines. So, famines are always possible. And if you do have to evacuate, make sure you take your food with you. Okay, fire. Out here in San Diego, we've had lots of big fires. There's fires all over the world now, big ones. So if the fires are really bad, you're going to want to evacuate. You're going to have to decide when the point comes that you need to evacuate and to where. And you have to have some idea where you're going to evacuate. You don't want to just take off in your car evacuating. You might end up in the middle of nowhere with no gas. This is good. I will be dehydrating those lemons tonight. Okay. War. You always want to be prepared for war. Not just the fact that they're taking your sons, which is bad enough, but there's always a slight possibility we could be attacked. You never know. Floods. You want to, be watchful for flood conditions. If you live in those flood areas and the heavy rain starts coming, I remember those floods in Texas. I knew those areas are going to be flooded. Why? Because I knew the water runoff. Also, if you have big drainage near your dwelling, that is not good either. Now water runs down, you're going to be flooded. Pestilence. I'm going to be giving this matter of pestilence some thought. You can't just go, well, I'll get a rat trap or two. No, it might be a whole lot worse than that. Disease. Disease is going to be a lot harder to protect yourself if you live in overcrowded, rundown conditions. So you want to keep your standard of living as high as possible. I worked in low-end shops, and for years and years and years, everyone was sick except for me. I think it had something to do with my standard of living. I don't squander my money. Famine could always happen. I would expect the price of food to go up since these floods. And fire. Okay, I've been through 2 big ones, and those are really, really bad. So, I read one time about a story of a soup kitchen, and you know what happens when you're at the back of the line? You get bean soup with no beans. Not good. So store beans and rice and vegetables. Dehydrate some vegetables. Okay, you guys, God bless you all.